And what's up, everyone? Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Today's video, I'm going to give you my thoughts on Iron Order since everybody won't stop asking me, so I'll give you those thoughts. First off, I want to send our prayers and all that good stuff over to Neon 1%er. A lot of the donations that came in from everybody on Insane Throttle has been put to use. Neon is now in Peoria at the Epilepsy Center, where he is going under some tests and all that good stuff. Don't forget, on December 14th, we're going to be having a benefit for Neon 1%er, and it will be live. It'll be like a little telethon, too, so it's going to be a hell of a party on the 14th. If you haven't yet gone and if you feel like donating, it don't matter how much you donate, you know, $1, $5, $20, but every little bit helps. Because after Neon gets done with his test, we'll know where we're going from there. But I really do appreciate everybody's donations. It has gotten him to the Peoria facility, and that is just awesome. We really appreciate that. Hopefully everybody likes the new studio before we go into the segment on Iron Order. You know, we got a couple things to go to do, but I got my girlfriend behind me watching over my back, man. That's my girl. Marilyn Monroe. Anyway, so a lot of everybody asking me, especially since the new book came out, The Iron Order, the year that changed the motorcycle club scene, what I think. And boy, if you actually get the book, you'll see what I think. But anyway, just to give you a little breakdown, there's a lot of newbies on the channel, so I'll walk through it a little bit. But the reason why I wrote the book was because I wanted to give a critical look at the Iron Order and what has happened since they came on the motorcycle club scene. How they started off, how they started this freaking trend of patching people over the internet to get as many numbers as they can. But one quote really stands out, and I don't think Iron Order really has much of a chance to actually get mainstream. Number one, because they got cops in the club. And if you have one cop in the club, you're considered a cop club. That's the way it is. That's the way it's always been. And no matter how much you go out there and try to say otherwise, it's never going to change. And the thing about the cop clubs, before I get to this quote, now a lot of people, especially with the law-abiding clubs, they go, well, we don't care what a person does. Well, you're not being true to what you're supposed to be, but you're not being true to the scene as a whole. And what people don't understand is, even if they let you get them to say, hey, we know who they are. Well, that's great. But here's the problem with that argument. The argument is, okay, we know who all our people are, but do you know what he's doing while he's inside the game? Do you know what that cop is doing? Do you know if he's flipping somebody to flip on somebody on the outside of your club? Because let's face it, it don't matter if you're a member of Iron Order. You might have a guy who grew up with a guy who's in one of the big fives. So now he's targeted by the cops through intelligence. And that's one thing that people really don't understand when it comes to law enforcement. At least make the suckers work for it, man. Come on. But throughout the book, Iron Order, the motorcycle club, I went over a lot of stuff, and one quote really popped up to me. And I think this is the reason why they'll never be accepted, and it's because of this quote. And he's still in leadership of their club. And the quote goes, and this is from Cigar, I guess their international vice. I know our club has the advantage. 1%ers won't call the cops, so what the fuck? Destroy any fucker that confronts you. It's a free ticket. Basically, he's saying, well, we'll call the cops as soon as everything's done. And it has happened in a lot of incidences when Iron Order got into scuffles with other clubs. Right away, the cops were on there. They're over there giving statements and shit like that. One thing that Iron Order does not realize is if something goes down, You don't give statements. I don't care if they're your enemy. You never talk to the cops. You don't give them shit. Nothing. Nada. Anything. That I guess that's just reasonable, man. I don't understand, people giving statements to the cops. If you're going to get into a beef, at least be a man and beef. Don't get in there, get whooped or something like that, and then go cry to the cops. That just is not freaking cool. And that's one of the major problems with what I see personally with the IOMC. Now, I have interviewed them, and as you know, Insane Throttle, we give everybody their side of the story. And we interviewed a chapter up in Wisconsin. Now, personally, if you look at my interview and you read my correspondence in the book, it was kind of hard to believe that this chapter and those regional officers were in iron order. And the reason being is because they seem to have all their shit together. They were cool motherfuckers. They made it to where, the hang-around period's hard to get into, the prospect period even more, and then finally a member. So they really watch out, and they do it more of the traditional way. Now, the Wisconsin region, from what I understand, and don't quote me, don't have any cops in it, but again, don't quote me. I don't know this for fact. What I do know is the regionals up in Wisconsin, there's some pretty cool guys. And they got more of the old school way of thinking, and they're butting their heads against the wall, trying to change the club from what they were under Lollipop to something that is actually a traditional club. So you got to give them kudos there. But again, I am not talking about the whole Iron Order as a whole. Nope. You still got a lot of fuckwads over on the East Coast. Again, you got somebody who's leading them that stated, I know our club has the advantage. 1%ers won't call cops, so what the fuck? Destroy any fucker that confronts you. That right there is unacceptable. I cannot believe that was said in public, and I still cannot believe that he is actually holding a patch, because most clubs would have gave him a couple dotted I's and sent his ass down the road for saying some shit like that. But it's a whole new world out there now. It is not like the early 90s. And I have questions from YouTube. And by the way, we got a shit ton of questions that I'm going to have to spread out over the next couple days. And mysteriously, I still haven't got any haters. But anyway, but that is where, 16 years later after they started up, and you got a lot of people that pop up, well, why ain't the Dominants doing any shit? Well, Mike was saying is, why ain't you doing it then if you're asking? Because if you're asking, what's your freaking skin in the game? You know what? Are you that much into drama where you want to see two clubs get into it together, and it's not you doing the prison time, it's somebody else, but you get to get your rocks off because some shit went and popped off? That ain't cool. So remember that next time you say, hey, well, why ain't they doing this or why ain't they doing that? Because 2018 is not 1993, is not the 1980s, and it sure the fuck ain't the 1970s. Nobody is going to do hard time over some stupid shit. Nobody's going to do that, man. Really. Who wants to do 25 to life because some retard wants to go out there and start a pop-up club? If that was the case, man, these 1%ers would be all over the damn place trying to shut everybody down. It's mathematically impossible to do that. You know what? I actually believed that when the SOA and all that bullshit came out, that all these pop-ups would become a fad. But I have really learned since working at Insane Throttle, that ain't the freaking case. And this shit is just going to keep going and going until finally the new generation says, this shit ain't for me. I know I got a good question in there, what I think the motorcycle club scene is going to go to. And I'll answer that a little later. But back to Iron Order, I think their past is they're never going to get rid of it. And nor should they be allowed to get rid of their past. Because what Lollipop did to the motorcycle scene is unexcusable. And just look what he did to, this kind of guy freaking Lollipop is. He'll go out there, cry and whine, he gets voted out of office. Then he's put out on bad because he's a fucknut. And then he goes starts up Iron Legacy. Well, the reason why he started up Iron Legacy is because he didn't want to get his ass kicked. And because he pissed off a lot of people. So when you're out on the outside looking in, it's a whole different story, let me tell you. So that's why he ran and did that bullshit. And he picked up right where he left off with the beginnings of the Iron Order. Now, is Iron Order a mail-in club or something? I can only speak for the chapter that I seen, and I seen the the prospect shit and all that shit. I didn't get into the time they spent prospecting or what they did. It really wasn't my business. The only reason I was there any damn way was because a friend of mine from the old Piston clubs went over there, and I wanted to see him, talk to him, and all that shit. But I was treated with respect. As soon as I walked into the chapter, it was real cool, even though I busted on them for, a year before then. But I can only speak on Iron Order when it comes to Wisconsin chapter. That one that I did, the Elkhorn one. That's it. I can only speak to the two regionals that I got to meet there, and they were some pretty old school guys. Now, in the end of the book, it's pretty sad, too, because this one guy from Chicago, he's got a lot of street cred, and he was one of their people, one of their officers and stuff like that, trying to change the club, getting away from all the bullshit, trying to get it away from cops, get rid of all the cops, but they just wouldn't budge on the East Coast, so he said, c'est la vie, and when a club starts losing guys like that, it's not a good thing. But those are just my quick thoughts on the Iron Order. If you want more of them, and I go really in depth in the book, it's available through Amazon, Kindle, paperback, and also on KDP. You can rent it on there and all that good jive. So that's my full thoughts in the book. This is just a quick thing. Just for the introduction for the guys who've been asking all the newcomers. But right now we have some, this is an awesome video that I've seen going around on the internet, and it has to do with the California wildfires and bikers getting involved. Wait until you see this, man. Wait until you see it.
My name is Matt Strasbaugh. I'm the president of Hellbent 823 Crew. We are the local motorcycle affiliate right here in Chico. We came here yesterday about 2 p.m. to drop off some hygiene packs that we put together. We only had 100 of them. Didn't even put a dent in the need here. And there was a lot of bedlam, a lot of craziness going on. People were starting to turn on each other. So we were asked if we could provide some security and kind of keep the calm situation down. We're not here to kick anyone's ass. We're here to protect the old people, the young people, all of the people. I understand that there was some transience problems coming through here trying to blend in with some of the fire victims, and they've been abusing. They were abusing the staff, the volunteers. They were just being belligerent, and so we came in and we put a stop to it. And I came here yesterday, like I said, 2 p.m. to drop those off, and I didn't leave until 6 a.m. this morning. And woke up, got dressed, and came down here right now, and we're just here to help out any way we can.
And that is the guys out in Cali. Them wildfires are burning like hell out there, man. You see all these celebrities who boo-hoo lost their freaking houses. Maybe they shouldn't talk shit next time. Karma's a bitch. But them idiots aside, man, there's a lot of people out in California right now going through some hard times. Let's give them all our prayers and support. And hopefully they make it through this all safe. And thank all the biker community for coming out, especially those guys in the patches and stuff that came out and ran security without, any worries about themselves. That's some cool shit. Bikers are the best people on earth. But right now we have the Legends and the American Brave coming up. And then finally Hollywood. Let's ask them some stuff. On today's Legends of the Motorcycle Scene, we have Leo Anthony, who was a top Midwestern dirt track racer of the late 1930s and 40s. He won 3 AMA Nationals during his 13-year professional racing career, all on a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Anthony was known as the determined and hard-riding competitor on the track, but was said to have been modest and even a bit bashful about his accomplishments. Anthony was born in Port Huron, Michigan on December 15, 1916. The great Joe Pettorelli was a rider Anthony looked up to as he was coming through the ranks. In an interview, Anthony once called Pettorelli the greatest dirt track racer of all time. Entering his first race in 1934, Anthony quickly worked his way through the amateur ranks, racing around the various dirt tracks of the Midwest. By 1937, Anthony had turned pro and promptly went out and finished second to Lester Dilbish at the Springfield, Illinois Mile. After World War II, Anthony really hit his stride. His best season was 1947. On May 26, he won the AMA 5-mile national for half-mile tracks. That year in Montgomery, Alabama. A week later in Richmond, Virginia, he earned a victory in the 10-mile national for half miles. He went on to earn podium finishes that season at the Springfield, Illinois and Milwaukee miles, where he took third and second. Anthony's final AMA national victory came on June 26 of 1945 at the 3-mile AMA National held in Spencer, Iowa. He continued to race and was the top contender through 1950. After a 16-year racing career, pro and amateur, Anthony retired from racing. He was later a frequent visitor to gatherings of old-time racers. Anthony died in 1997, and he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1998. And that is your legend of the motorcycle scene. And that was your Legends of the Motorcycle Scene. It has become very popular here on YouTube and really appreciate that. Again, this Saturday, exactly 3 days and 15 hours from now, the Madhouse goes live worldwide. We'll be all over the place. We will be on Facebook, YouNow, VX, VW, whatever the hell it is. YouTube, everything in that chat room right there will be where everybody gets to see us. And hopefully that chat room is rocking and rolling. And yeah, it's going to be a good time. Anyway, let's get to our new segment, America the Brave, that everybody told me they are really liking. On today's America the Brave, Garland M. Connor, First Lieutenant. Garland M. Connor distinguished himself by acts of gallantry and intrepidity while serving with Company K, 3rd Battalion, 7th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Infantry Division, on the morning of January 24th, 1945, near the town of Husson, France. German forces ferociously counterattacked the front left flank of the 7th Infantry Regiment with 600 infantry troops, 6 Mark VI tanks, and tank destroyers. Lieutenant Connor, having recently returned to his unit after recovering from a wound received in an earlier battle, was working as the intelligence officer in the 3rd Battalion command post at the time of the attack. Understanding the devastating effect that the advancing enemy armor could have on the battalion, Lieutenant Connor immediately volunteered to run straight into the heart of the enemy assault to get to the position from which he could directly direct friendly artillery on the advancing enemy forces. With complete disregard for his own safety, Lieutenant Connor maneuvered 400 yards through the enemy artillery fire that destroyed trees in his path and rained sharp metal all around him. While unrolling telephone wire needed to communicate with the battalion command post, upon reaching the battalion's front line, he continued to move forward under the enemy assault to a position 30 yards in front of the defending United States forces, where he plunged into a shallow ditch that provided minimal protection from the advancing enemy's heavy machine gun and small arms fire. With rounds impacting all around him, Lieutenant Connor calmly directed multiple fire missions, adjusting round after round of artillery from his prone position, until the enemy was forced to halt at its advance and seek cover behind a nearby dike. For 3 hours, Lieutenant Connor remained in his compromised position, enduring the repeated onslaught of German infantry. which at one point advanced to within 5 yards of his position. As the German infantry regrouped and began to mass in an overwhelming assault, Lieutenant Connor ordered friendly fire to concentrate directly on his own position, having resolved to die if necessary to destroy the enemy advance. Ignoring friendly fire, artillery shells blanketed in his position and exploded mere feet from him, Lieutenant Connor continued to direct artillery fire on the enemy assault swarming around him until the German attack was finally broken. By his heroism and disregard for his own life, Lieutenant Connor stopped the enemy advance. The artillery expertly directed it while under constant enemy fire, killed approximately 50 German soldiers and wounded an approximate 100 more, preventing what would have been undoubtedly been heavy friendly casualties. His actions are in keeping with the highest traditions of military service and reflect great credit upon himself, the 3rd Infantry Division, and the United States Army. And that is your America the Brave. Right there's America the Brave right there, man. Let me tell you. Got the best soldiers in this world. You know, it is funny, today, I guess Macaron and that German broad, you know, that ugly looking thing, going out, well, maybe we need a European army. How many freaking times has the United States had to bail your asses out? Maybe you want to pay that NATO bill a little bit. But hey, if you want your own army, great. We don't have to pay your shit anymore. And we don't have to come to your damn rescue every time. What is it? 2 World Wars and a Cold War, I think it was. But yeah, anyway. Let's go to our Ask Hollywood section. Hollywood! What do you think is the future of motorcycle clubs for the next 20 years or so? This generation is getting older and it seems young guys aren't interested in clubs or motorcycles. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It's going to be a tough one, OSB. Let me tell you, it's going to be tough. These new kids, they really ain't into the club scene. They're more independent-minded. They're more sport bike orientated. And a lot of the stuff that we grew up with at our age is not around anymore. You got to remember, man, we used to communicate by actually going face-to-face. And now these kids nowadays, you know, it's just the internet. And it's going to be pretty tough. And you can actually see that in Harley-Davidson sales. You can always see how the health of the scene is. And there's a great article on this coming up tomorrow in Insane Throttle, where it talks about how Harley-Davidson relied on the past and it killed its future. Well, that's basically what it is, man, because this new generation, they only look at Harley-Davidson as an older man's bike. And again, you know, a lot of them ain't cut out for clubs. And a lot of shit's going to change unless the older guys put a boot up in that ass and get them in the right direction. Blue Eyes, happy birthday. And may I ask, what your thoughts on mixed gender MCs that seem to be springing up all over the place? That would be a hot topic for a video, trust me. Well, thanks for the birthday wishes a couple days ago, last week or whatever. Mixed genders MC, I think, you know, not to piss on anybody's Wheaties, but a 3-piece patch anyone, I think it's kind of a joke. You know, I just don't see how it is. This is a man's world. And how do you have a woman telling a prospect what to do? Or how's a woman back the patch up in a fucking bar or some shit? Now I'm talking, you know, the 3-piece patch shit like that. Now riding clubs and shit like that, hey, that's cool, man. It's riding clubs and shit. You know, there's no big deal. A-bait, you know, but when you get into a club where you're actually maybe associated with a more dominant and you're wearing a 3-piece patch with a woman and she's telling a man what to do, I don't know, man. That just don't sit right. And I think that goes along with, wow, I could never, no. So I hope that answers your question, man. It's just like, nope, ain't happening, because I can't see how they would defend the patches. I really don't. So, you know, that puts the rest of the club in jeopardy if something goes down. But anyway, we have a great sales number over at the New Age and Biking and Brotherhood, as well as the Iron Order Motorcycle Club. Right now, Madhouse will be going live on Saturday at 9 a.m. or 9:30 actually, worldwide. Again, we're gonna be all over the place. I like this little freaking starting shortly thing, don't you guys? But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. If you have questions, keep on sending them, and really love hearing what you guys have to say on YouTube. It's getting real busy on YouTube, so if I don't, I try to get a comment everybody that makes one. So if I don't get to you right away, man, don't kick me in the fucking balls. I apologize. But again, talk to you guys later, and have a good day, guys.